Welcome to the Real Estate Wisdom Podcast number 16. I'm your host, Vishal Kapoor, and today we have some interesting topic to discuss with you. I hope you're doing well, and how are you doing, Yash?
I'm doing good.
You're doing good? Yeah? How was your weekend?
It's good.
Just like usual, buying groceries, right? Buying groceries?
Oh, yeah. Groceries.
Oh boy. Yesterday I went and I go very often, not very often, weekly or bi-weekly. And every time I go, man, in the same stuff, they're costing me more.
Oh, man. What are you getting?
Just the regular stuff. I'm not kind of person who I'm a Costco shopper.
That's why your groceries high.
But it's not only the Costco. Yesterday I was buying at Freshco actually, and get interacted with a few people. And everybody's just complaining about, how costly the groceries are getting. So then I was thinking about today's episode, why not do some comparison? What is it actually costing us, right? Because some of the things we budget, not everybody is budgeting that. But this information can also be useful for people who moving to Canada or people moving to Toronto area. Greater Toronto area, and what could be the cost of living. So while I was researching on that, and I went to this website, and which is called Numbeo, Numbeo, and this is perfect. Let's give you the analysis of a lot of things, from example, how much restaurants is costing, market price for milk to chicken, transportation costs, utilities, childcare, clothing and shoes, rent per month, by apartment price, and salaries and financing also. An interesting thing, you can also do the comparison from one city to other city as well. Mind you, what I found, some all depending upon what people individually putting the data over there. So it's closer, it's not exact, it's not accurate, but not exact, I will say, but it's very close to accurate, what I'll say. Because I was really surprised to see that. So do you know, I know you have a family of 3, right? A family of 4, estimated monthly cost in Toronto is how much? Any guesses?
On groceries or just on?
Just that's without rent.
Monthly cost,
right? 4,000. 550. A family of 4 estimated monthly cost are $5,586 without rent. A single person estimated monthly cost are $1,543 without rent.
Oh, without.
Right. However, interesting is we're still the cheaper because it cost 28% less expensive than New York without rent.
Okay.
Rent in Toronto is an average 50% lower than in New York. So definitely New York, if we feel the heat, think about people living in New York. But I think the salary is also comparable as well because you're 30% more. I believe that's for the conversion these days, right? So, so I started looking at some data, and because having these data has really helped. And so I'm a realtor, and a lot of people talking about the rising cost of interest rate, and people feeling that pain, and they're wondering where to cut it down. But in order to analyze that, where to cut it down, you have to find out where you're spending and what is costing you, right? And then you can look into that, what things you can shred, what you have must have, and what is luxury, and where you can adjust your lifestyle, right? That's what I do when I'm comparing. So the average cost of renting a 2-bedroom apartment in Toronto right now is $3,300 approximately. Over the past year, the average rent for a studio apartment increased by 2% to $2,000. while the rent for a 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom apartment decreased by -1% to $2,500 to $3,300 respectively, which is pretty comparable. Like in Toronto and even in the Oakville area, like where I live, it's pretty much similar. But Oakville, surprisingly, with the data, it was a little bit cheaper than living in the downtown Toronto, which makes sense, right? However, like the transportation cost might increase if you're traveling to a Toronto or downtown area, right? The average cost of buying a house in Toronto ranges from $934,000 to $1.439, $1,439,000, depending on the type of property again. And the cost of living in the city center is generally higher than the outskirts, and which is not surprising. Like suburb is always a little bit cheaper. If you're not traveling that much, working from home, that might work for you better. To save some money. And some affordable neighborhoods for renters and buyers include Lesville, Edenbridge, Humber Valley Village, and Garden District. Like, if you know where these are, like, if you're thinking of moving over there, maybe the commute, your commute might be, you need a car. But like even you're looking into that, you're living in the Hamilton, you're looking in the Stony Creek area, for example, or the Niagara area. Now with the connectivity with the GO, it might help. So which brings me to like a transportation cost in Toronto. Unfortunately, some specific information on the current fares for public transportation in Toronto is not available. Change in transportation cost over the past year, the impact of the fare integration policy on commuters, or the cost associated with owning a car in Toronto is not available. Well, this is the data like which is looking from the website, but I can tell you like an average, I believe that's what is costing you from going, for example, Oakville to Toronto, which is around 45 kilometers to 50 kilometers, depending upon where you're going to Toronto. And it will cost you like a $400 to $500. That's what it used to be. It probably have increased like from $400 to $600. So that's a transportation cost, like and how you can do it. I'm not the Go traveler. Have you traveled in Go, Yesh?
Yes, I have.
And what's the cost, like one side fare, do you know? Or two?
One way from Oakville to Toronto would be around
$15, $20, right? So going both ways, like around $40.
Yeah.
Wow. But that's all how much it's costing you even taking your car over there and parking and because you're costing $20 to $40 depending upon the parking. If you have some cheaper one, there's $10, $15 as well. But I don't think it's available everywhere, right? So that's...
And a lot of people drive to the GO station and then, so they're doing double. There's gas they're spending, drive to the GO station and then to avoid the traffic.
Oh, for sure.
More,
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And that's the thing. But the biggest thing which I found is like, how the cost increasing, besides like in housing, it's food cost, right? So food cost, how much it cost? Well, the average cost of meal in an inexpensive restaurant in Toronto is $23.50.
Okay.
And that's for one person. And that's I'm talking about just a regular meal. Like you're going. Just a restaurant, yeah.
Okay. That makes sense.
And specific information on the typical grocery bill cost for a single person and for a family changes in food prices over the past year. Factors contributing to the increase of food prices is not available. So I can record that's one over here.
Turn the mic to
Yeah, towards myself. Yeah.
Like right now it's facing that way.
Okay.
Turn it toward you.
There you go. Okay, perfect. So next big thing we talk about, like, and after next big thing we talk about when we talking about the affordability and cost of living is food, right? Do you know how much it costs these days to go to the restaurants, like inexpensive restaurant?
$15, $25.
You very ballpark, like based on the data, it's like a $23. Like, and every time I go after. Yeah, for one person. After giving the tip and everything, I believe it's $25 to $28, right? Food is getting so expensive. Eating out is getting so expensive. And these are the other thing which I found, like in most of the restaurants, they already including the gratuity in there, which is increased from 15 to 18% now, right? Even you go for the tip option, you have to press, you have no choice. Like you have to pay 18% at least, right? And I believe,
Cash.
why?
Cash, so you don't have to mess around with the machine.
Oh yeah, like that's all. Yeah, I should start doing that actually. I don't carry cash with me. Nobody does these days, and especially these phones these days, like, make it so easier and the same time convenient. You just tap on it and you do, and then at the end, when you're looking into budgeting where you spend your money, I should do more. I was not doing that because I do like monthly sometime and quarterly basis look into my budget and see where I'm spending more and what cost cutting I can do. I'll look into that, but then fall into like a bad habits again, just like everybody else, because food, like, for example, like for example, like grocery shopping. So my way of doing a grocery shopping is like, it's not like having a checklist. Maybe it's a good idea. Just have a checklist what you really need. I go from aisle to aisle. I go take a circle like that, come back and go back over here, and then I look into I'm missing this thing. I need this thing. I have the basic idea, like what I need on a regular basis every week. For example, milk, eggs, bread. These are most basic one we need every week. Bananas. I love bananas. And that's my first meal in the morning,
That's
actually.
the most sold item in Walmart.
Oh, yeah. Not only there, like, yesterday I was Freshco was shopping, was the fresh bananas. Yeah. And I was asking, like, bananas looking good today, because sometimes you get, like, stale. It's also depending upon when they're getting the groceries as well. So I hope, I believe, like, usually it doesn't happen on Sundays. I notice on Thursdays deliveries happen. But yesterday was like a fresh bananas, and he said, I already filled this aisle like for 4 times today. I'm like, wow. So, well, it's the cheapest way of having a full meal, actually. If you can live on bananas, I can live on bananas and eggs. Not sure about you. I know you need more food though. Anyway, the other thing is like utilities and healthcare cost in Toronto. The average cost of utilities such as electricity, water, and internet for one person is around $78.90, which sounds cheaper actually. Toronto is 28.2 less expensive than New York without rent. The cost of living in Toronto is in the top 6%. This is interesting. So even with cheaper than New York, the cost of living in Toronto is in the top 6% of the most expensive cities in the world, ranked 579th out of 9,294. So are we on the top? Yes, we are on top of the 6%. But like an interesting thing is like number one, I believe is like Japan. Yeah. But not 100% sure. I don't have the current data right now, but it's used to be in Japan. That was like most expensive. Yeah. Tokyo was like most expensive. But yeah.
Space issue. Canada's second largest country, so space isn't.
That's one thing. But the other problem we have is like not have enough infrastructure.
Oh yeah.
So we have the most populous city on the southern Ontario that's the most one. Like 70% of the population immigrate over here, come to Toronto, right? Or the area. And rest of the province and everything, they are not that populated. But also within Ontario, the connectivity is, unfortunately, it's not that great, right? It's not great. Like, imagine if you can connect, if I have to go Kitchener-Waterloo, for example, and if I can reach there like quickly there for 45 minutes or half an hour, isn't that be great without that traffic and stuff? If I have to go, like, for example, Windsor and going to like a Niagara side, it will save so much time. And that's what actually happened during COVID, right? A lot of people were working from home. They don't have to go, they use the transportation that much, and they decided to move out. to save some money, buy a bigger houses, and that's why the price has gone up on suburb that time. But now, because they have to go back to their offices, people moving back, and that's why the cost of the feeling the heat. And unfortunately, happened like because the switch happened, the prices in suburb also gone down like a 25%. So they be increased rapidly, but also like now they came down rapidly as well. So if you have money, and if you already decided to work from home, and your company is agreed to, stay in suburb, still cheaper. I know the price is not going to increase, but don't worry, because you bought it for 4 or 5 years. It's going to come back. It's going to come back, in my opinion, for sure. Well, so the impact of cost of living on lifestyle, and everybody's lifestyle, should say, have impacted a big time. The average monthly cost for a single person in Toronto is $2,544, right? Unfortunately, specific information on the average cost for a family in Toronto is around $5,500. So looking into the data from Numbeo, a family of 4 estimated monthly costs are $5,586. Single person's estimated monthly cost is $1,543. Rent in Toronto is on average, we mentioned that, depending upon like what kind of house you need, is 1 bedroom is in city center areas is $2,600 now. 1 bedroom out of center is $2,300. 3-bedroom apartment in city center, which is hard to find, is $4,300. One pair of apartment 3 bedrooms out of center is $3,500. So, but in order to afford that, like, how much money you need, right? You were wondering, like, how much monthly salary one person should earn, right? So average monthly net salary after tax, based on this data, is $4,700.40, which already shows that you're paying like more than your 50% on housing.
And what's the rule for that?
Well, rule is like your total expenses shouldn't be more than 30% of your salary. Shouldn't be total expenses I'm talking about. But unfortunately, I think it's going the other way around. Yep. You might not leaving anything for savings or nothing for luxury. I will say just to live, and value of money gone down. Like, that's a simple thing. Yeah. And when people say like, prices got increased from.
How do you fix this?
How fix this? Well, if I have the magic wand, I can fix it. But like, unfortunately, not. It's like, it's a combined effort. Like, one person cannot do anything about it. But I think like what we can do is like, a lifestyle changes. And that's what we have to do. Because the cost of living in Toronto has been significant increases, especially in housing and food costs. We just discussed about that, right? And the average rent has risen, making it more challenging for individuals and families to find affordable housing. And that's what we're talking about, because nobody, like in the builders, they're not going to invest. Their cost gone high. They're not going to put those rental apartments, right? Because they're not in the losing business. They're not the charity business. As much we can blame on builders, they should build the affordable housing. But government is not providing that much support to them. So how they can do it? Like, the government have to intervene in that kind of stuff. Lower the cost. Recently, they did like on an HST part on new housing and everything, but it's not enough. In Greater Toronto area, right? So the builder, they give the break on HST now. I don't have the full data right now, but pulling the article, but this recently came out, which is a great effort, but it's not enough. Now, it's not enough at all. They have to lower cost on like a red tape. Even like building cost, how much it goes to the government? It goes around like 20 to 30%. Can you imagine?
Really?
Yeah. With the, from starting the build, when you filing the application for permits.
So what was that one building in Toronto that, how much did that cost? It was like $1.3 billion or something like that. And so 30% of that is going to the government.
It's with all the cost and everything is going 30%. Right? So many taxes. So many taxes.
Yeah,
And like sometimes we'll say we pay double taxes, on certain things, they pay, we pay. It's a mess. It's literally a mess. It needs to be corrected. It needs to be corrected quickly. Otherwise, we are sitting. I feel like we are sitting on the time bomb, and it will be interesting to see how this year roll out in 2024 because a lot of mortgages coming to renewal. So people who are locked their mortgages before on fix, they're paying 2, 3, or even like a 4%. They're going to feel the pain because it's going to increase to almost like double, right? So I know New Year starting. If you're not thinking about it, start thinking about some lifestyle changes so you can make some adjustment. And that was the whole purpose of this Real Estate Wisdom podcast. Well,
shop on the borders of the grocery stores.
but then we're giving a lot of money to our neighbors, right? So it's not like a win-win situation, like a one way or the other. It's need the combined effort from all of us. But some things we don't have a control over. The only control we have is what we can do to change. One option, that move out of Toronto, right? Leave the province, and which unfortunately a lot of people are doing. The other option is just reduce. If you want 2 car garage house with 4,000 square feet, but you have family of 3 or 4, you can live in 2,000 square feet house. It's not it's going to be uncomfortable. Your choice. You're going to save a lot of money because cost of buying a 2,000 square feet house is way less than 4,000 square feet house, right? So that adjustment. Also, the type of housing we want to live, that could be the adjustment. That will take a major impact on that. But at the same time, it's like chicken comes first or egg. Right now, because the prices and its market is pretty stable, and nobody wants to lose that money. But at the same time, when you purchase it, when you're selling it, you still make some money. It's reduced from 100% what you make, or double. Maybe you reduce to a 75%, which is not bad. But then you have to make those adjustments, right? Based on your, if you want to survive, right? You don't want to be in debt forever, right? And then these mortgages and everything for longer period of time is costing more people in the long run. So to live comfortably in Toronto, individual families may consider various lifestyle changes, which I'll talk about, such as exploring affordable neighborhoods, adopting cost-effective transportation options. Maybe have people have 2 cars, maybe can do 1 car, which is not, maybe not buying the luxury car, maybe the something cheaper, reduced your loan option, right? Your leasing. If you spending $1,000 on your lease, you can cut down to $500, which can be great impact as well. And implementing budget-friendly food strategies, what are the must thing you have to have for your family, and what are the things which you can avoid, right? It's luxury, maybe not right now. Maybe that extra cheese you buy, not necessary at this moment, right? Maybe you can live with some more healthy options, which is much cheaper, right? Like I said, I can live on eggs and bananas. So it will be easy for me to adjust on that, but not so much for my family, for my growing kids. So I have to make some adjustments over there. it is like a really, really essential, just like I said, it is essential to carefully manage expenses, seek affordable housing options, and explore public transportation to mitigate the impact of rising cost of living. I think I repeated that again, but I think it's so impactful. So in conclusion, the cost of living in Toronto has significantly increased. We're all experiencing it, particularly in housing and food cost. And to maintain a comfortable lifestyle, individuals and families need to adapt these changes by making informed financial decisions and exploring cost-effective living options. So this is our episode. I hope this is helpful to you analyzing. And again, go to this website. And if you're thinking of moving from one area to other area and see how much is impact going to happen, especially if you're renting and then you don't have to sell the house. You're just renting, and you can look into that, not only the renting portion, but depending upon the neighborhood, how much like a food cost, how much transportation cost, healthcare cost, extracurricular activities for your kids, how much is got like a reduce. That's probably you can do some savings and save it for like the future use. And once things get better, maybe you can come back to your regular lifestyle, right? So you have some options. We always have options. We also have choices. Choose the right thing, which is for you and for your family. Thank you for watching. Please comment, share, and like our podcast, and tell us like how we did, and tell us like if you have information about how you doing cost saving and what lifestyle changes you have made. That will be very helpful. Thank you for watching. This is Vishal Kapoor. Until next time, bye for now. Disclaimer: the information provided in this podcast is for informational purpose only and should not be considered as financial or investment advice. Consult with your professional before making any real estate decisions.